Okay, welcome guys. Good morning. It's 11:35 a.m. in Nigeria. So can we just have some introductions about the people in the house?
Hi,
Hi.
we are Cablo Studios.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My
Hi,
name is Dr. Tsepo Maka. I'm the producer of Keblo Studio, of 3 Teaspoons of Sugar at Keblo Studios, and I'm the director of medical animations and business development.
nice. And we have
I'm,
Art in the building. Okay, who's in there? Okay, you are still introducing yourselves.
and I'm Cabello Maka, the director of the short film Three Teaspoons of Sugar, which is playing in the festival, and creative director at Cablo Studios.
Awesome. And now we have Artie in the building. So Artie, can you just introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm a producer and director at ARG Cartoon Animation in Stillwell, Oklahoma, USA. I got into the animation business in 1981 as a producer and director. I worked on movies, TV shows, a lot of commercials, music videos, and so forth. And I've really enjoyed working on Adventures of Turtle Tido with my friend Muyiwa Coyote.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so now we have the person who's going to be moderating this session is Brian, and Brian is in the building. So Brian, could you just introduce yourself and carry on with the session?
Hi, everyone. I'm supposed to be hosting this Q&A session. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great. I'm supposed to be hosting the Q&A session. My name is Brian. I am co-founder of Zero Gravity Studios, which is a design, animation, and production studio based in Lisbon.
Very nice.
So welcome to the session. Have we already viewed, and can I know the filmmakers in the house? Can I know the filmmakers whose films are showed?
This is Kwame with Legend of Lona McGarry.
Okay, great. We have 2 new people as well. Nuha, could you please introduce yourself, and Kemi as well?
Hello, my name is Nuha, and I'm the director of Hadida. I'm from South Africa.
Okay. I'm Esther Kemi Gwedamosi, and I'm the producer of Drunken Dreams. Yeah.
Producer of what?
Drunken Dreams, producer
Drunken
and director. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So can we start with, I think we want to start with Artie.
Hello,
Hi, Artie. How's it going?
pretty good.
Great. So could you please tell us the inspiration behind your film?
Well, in 2014, my friend, 2013, or I'm sorry, my friend Muyiwa Coyote, who I'd worked with for a number of years out of Lagos, Nigeria. My studio was in Colorado Springs, and we did contract animation, and had done a trailer for him for something called Taiwo and Kenny. And that didn't fly, but he came back and with another idea for a trailer, which was The Adventures of Turtle Tido. So we did 1 minute for that, and didn't think too much about it. But in 2014, he notified us that he'd gotten a grant from the Nigerian federal government to produce the series. And he told us how much it was, and we said, oh, okay. So to produce a series, oh, okay. So, I thought it over, and I figured out how I could, as a producer, how I could do what my friend wanted. And we went ahead and went into production the following spring of 2015. And it went to air later that summer. And that was the first season. And he came back next year, and we did another season. And I've also produced a couple of director's cuts of a couple of the episodes, including the one that was shown here. Turtle Tido in Osun and Kogi states, I hope I'm saying those right.
Yeah, that's right.
But Mr. Coyote had visited us in Colorado Springs for 3 days in 2015 and talked about the culture of Nigeria and things like the talking drum and how, we, how people ate and how they socialized in Nigeria and how it's a very formal culture compared to the United States, and people are very polite and introduce themselves and a lot of the challenges of Nigeria, which his series was designed to help with for children.
Right. Okay. So and going forward, can everyone please mention the name of their film screening before they talk about it? So what the one that screened is Turtle Tido, right?
Yes, sir.
So how long did it take you rather to produce each episode? We know that it's a 2D animated series. So what software did you use and how long did it take you to produce each episode?
We used what's known as Adobe Animate to produce it, and I created a pipeline where we were working on 3 programs simultaneously. We took 6 weeks to produce each episode, and we completed 1 episode every 2 weeks. So we completed 20 minutes per month on the series.
Right, okay. I see that the creator of the series has just joined us, Mr. Coyote. Welcome to the session. Could you please tell us a little bit about the inspiration as the creator of this series?
It was inspired by the need to create a Nigerian-themed animation series for children, because for years and years, most of us grew up watching foreign cartoons. And traditionally, those African stories that some of us remember, that were told us, they're narrated to us by our parents, so to speak. Those stories face the danger of going extinct because the younger generations just cannot connect. And the way to have kids of today connect with stories, folk tales, and all of those things is through the medium of animation. Because if it's animation, they will sit down and watch. It will engage them. But if we are talking about the old day style of telling stories, there isn't just that kind of patience and temperament anymore. So we decided that we needed to create an educational series that's educational, not in the sense of teaching people maths and geography and stuff, but in the sense of teaching kids wisdom and positive values of life, teaching them about diversity, different cultures. And that indeed is actually a message that is so relevant in the world today, because there's so much division, there's so much distrust and hatred and all of that. But what Turtle Title teaches is that if people understand other people's cultures and why they do things differently, then we'll treat them with respect. But a whole lot of this is down to a lack of understanding. So we created a series that promotes diversity, even though the target is children, because for the most part, they are not biased. They don't have prejudices that a whole lot of adults have that come with experience and interacting with other people. Kids don't have all of that. So we believe that it is effective to impart that kind of message, even though it's a universal message, it's a message that is relevant to people of all ages. But the primary target is the younger generation, children, and teaching them to understand that, look, people are different and people in different places do things differently. And there are reasons for those things. So if we understand why people are different from us, they look different, they dress different, they speak a different language, they do things differently. If we understand where they're coming from, if we understand their culture, then we'll treat one another with respect and the world will be a lot more peaceful place.
Okay, great. Now you mentioned, the whole idea of teaching, and one thing came to mind, because I kept wondering, why did you choose the turtle? Why couldn't it have been any other animal? But I'm assuming that, because I know the tortoise is used a lot, and maybe the turtle as well. But I know the tortoise being used a lot in so many African, folk tales and stories. So and obviously it's considered a creature of wisdom and an old sage, more or less. So did that have anything to do with your choice in the character?
Well, I think it does, but the turtle, as we know him in most of these folk tales, is not completely a role model, so to speak, because sometimes in some of those stories it's full of trickery. But there's a lesson again in those stories, because when he displays negative values, he pays the price. It's usually a bad ending for him when he's either up to a trick or he's being dishonest or he's being greedy and all of that, So, but we needed to take a departure from that and create a turtle, a character that is actually cute and likable and that teaches positive values. Yes, there's some influence there, yeah, but the turtle title character is a departure from 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 the tortoise that we heard about in some of those folktales.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Artie, and thank you very much, Muiwa, for your, insight. I think we'll move now to Miss Maka from Cablo Studios. Interestingly enough, we have met each other before in live and in the flesh, way back in, I think it was last year actually, in South Africa for the Disc Hop Festival. So yeah, please take it away. Tell us a bit about yourself and about the work you have showing today.
Today is World Diabetes Day. I'm a medical doctor, and our short film is called 3 Teaspoons of Sugar. And it was premiered last year on this day in commemoration of World Diabetes Day. So I'm very passionate about health, health promotion, public health education. Even though my training is in anesthesiology, we created this film because I realized that medical concepts can be very complex. They can be very, and doctors usually talk about people's heads. And when people didn't know what anesthesiology is, I took it upon myself to ask my daughter, who's an animator, to create something to explain what anesthesia does. And I felt that animation, projects medicine in a less gory way. And that is the reason why we then created 3 Teaspoons of Sugar. So for us, this is the day to commemorate diabetes management and to tell the world through our short film that diabetes is managed. It can be managed. You don't have to be scared of diabetes, and you can live a healthy lifestyle. And I'll let Kabelo talk about 3 Teaspoons.
So that's Dr. T, my mom, and also the producer of 3 Teaspoons of Sugar, which we made last year. Actually, we premiered it exactly a year ago today. We hosted an independent premiere of the film. And it's a short film about diabetes and how it affects the family. And it's actually a documentary short film. And what we did is we took the story of people in our own family and how they have experienced the highs and the lows of living life with diabetes. And then we took their real voices as they were telling us about their experiences, and we animated their story. We animated them living through those experiences as characters. And it ended up being quite a personal story, even though it's got lots of facts and information about diabetes. And we found that a lot of people really engage well with the medical content when it's got a human face, and when it's in an animated form, it's delightful. It's not like what you said, flying over your head and overwhelming. And also just for us as filmmakers, it kind of brings the story home because we chose to tell the story of real people in our lives and put them on screen, and I suppose forever immortalize them, now that I think about it. But yeah, that is 3 teaspoons of sugar.
Okay, so one of the things I was curious about when I was watching it, and by the way, well done, because like you guys mentioned, it does make it a bit more easy to digest. Um, in my mind, I kept thinking of the fact that a teaspoon of sugar helps the medicine go down, you know. So that kind of it kind of worked. So one of the things I was gonna ask you is about your choice. um, I know that each of the characters you portrayed were based on actual characters, family members. Um, Now, your choice of style, why did you choose that choice? Why did you choose that style? Um, I know it's pretty loose. The animation isn't like full on character animation as you'd see, but I felt like the style you chose, which was kind of like limited animation in a sense, um, kind of made it a lot more easy to follow, you know? So what was it? Tell us a bit about that choice.
So in terms of the graphic style, it's partly just me, the natural way that I draw. So I've been drawing my whole life since I was like 3. So just naturally, this is kind of a drawing style I've developed. But how we actually animated, we had to. It's a funny thing because we were using real voices, so it wasn't scripted. We scripted the questions we would ask the family members, and we also storyboarded what we assumed they would answer and the kind of medical information we wanted to portray. But kind of finding that balance of, okay, it's real people, so we don't know what they're going to say, but it's animation and we can't take too much time working on it because we have to release it at a certain time. So the art style was our way of balancing that, making sure that we can make the animation quickly, but still have it look really appealing, and still make sure that we integrate those real voices into the flow of the story. So you'll see like some of how we divide the content. We have like questions up on screen so you can see what we ask the characters. Or if characters were just kind of speaking on their own, we gave the audience the question that we asked them, so that the audience knows what context is being given. And then also as they were speaking, then we would have an animated scenario of whatever it is they were saying. So for example, my grandmother, Mama Kay, she would then talk about how the family was raised, how meal times were a really important part of being together. And then also how, when you have diabetes, another character my aunt was talking about, when you have diabetes, you can't eat the same things as other people. So then as they're talking about those experiences, and you see the family meals, you see the food that they're not supposed to eat. And that's how we kind of combine that all together. And also just style wise, our art style is quite cute, I think, but also partially realistic. So it's that balance of it's medicine, so it's serious, but it's animation, so it's lighter.
Yeah. I also wanted to make sure that it depicts, if you can see the kidney, it's well drawn. If you can see the heart, is well drawn, because I wanted to make sure that whatever it is that we depict is scientifically and medically correct. But more than anything, there was a lot of time pressure. I know we could have done a whole lot more on this project, but I wanted it out on World Diabetes Day. So she then had to choose that style of animation to allow us to make it on time and to premiere it last year on World Diabetes Day.
Right. Okay. I know you mentioned, having to storyboard the whole process. How long did this take you from start to finish, the entire project? And what software did you animate in?
Oh, thank you for asking that question because I love talking about our software. So we started in May 2019, and I have to admit, we literally finished the film the exact day it was coming out. So obviously, this is not what I do. This is not my habit. I usually finish things just a little bit before, so there's breathing room. But for this one, at the time of making the film, I was working as an animation lecturer on top of doing the film. So we were trying to juggle that. But in terms of software, we used a French animation software called TV Paint, which is a 2D software, but it kind of incorporates a lot of the feel of traditional animation, which is what I like and really works well for our studio because we like to draw as artists. And then also with having to do the whole story, I learned about TV Paint when I was in France for a little bit. I got to attend the Gobela L'École L'École de l'Image, there we go, their summer school of character animation. And that's when I got exposed to TV Paint and just loved it immediately because I like drawing, but I don't like the pain of having to do animation with paper. I like digital tools. So TV Paint really came in handy for us. And we actually approached them and they ended up being a software sponsor for our film, which is very exciting for us. Wow. And every opportunity we get to rave about TV Paint, we take it.
Well, I just wanted to add that I got to see the full film at 8:30 on the morning it was launched. I can tell you my heart was racing. It's not the way to do a movie, but she finished it on the day of the launch. But I'm glad that the team, which is a team of female animators, worked on it very well, and they could, the idea, at least TV Paint allowed them to put the idea in such a way that I was satisfied, and for Annecy to pick it up as one of its selection in 2020 in July. So despite the fact that it had a lot of time constraints, I think they managed to do well.
Yeah, that's why we had to storyboard. Otherwise, I don't know if we would have finished.
So one final question. When you were done with the final project, did each of your family members recognize themselves in there?
So the main characters did, and there are some like extras in the family where they're there. If they've seen themselves and maybe they haven't told us, maybe it's because they were like, "Is this what I look like as a cartoon?" But right. Little ones have been like, "Oh, that's me, and they're always like, "Kabelo, do another movie because I want to be a character in one of your movies." So it's a lot of fun, and it's funny that you mentioned our family. We're making an animated series called The Fam, which just got featured in a Canadian publication called Kids Green. And there they get to see themselves as cartoon characters, fully fleshed right. out. So,
and just to add, the two characters were at the Mama K and the Sue were at, and of course me and Kabelo were at the premiere. And what it gave us, or at least the audience, the opportunity was to talk to an animated character in real life yeah. and get to hear their story, and so people found that very interesting, in that you could portray real life stories and real serious life health stories, and that the characters who were there, who they didn't complain that we didn't depict them well. They were happy with how they looked, that they could then interact with the audience. So that was a good moment.
Mm.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Maka and Kabelo. Thanks for coming. Okay, so now we'll quickly move on to Esther Kemi Badamosi. Please introduce yourself and your film, and then tell us a bit about the inspiration behind it. Sorry, we can't. Can you unmute your?
Sorry. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
My name is Esther Mbadamosi. I'm the producer director, as well as one of the animators on Drunken Dreams, and the inspiration, for Drunken Dreams actually came as a result of a personal story I had, when I started. I used to be a 3D animator, that's for about 10 years, then I obviously got married, started having children, and then I couldn't cope anymore, so I felt that, my career as a 3D animator or an animator at all, was over because I couldn't cope anymore, and so stop motion became my outlet, because I could just work with dolls and various props, so that the story itself, is the story of someone who was already very old, and he was into music and he had not done anything useful with his life, and which was for me, I found myself in my 30s because I've been doing animation in my early 20s, and then in my 30s, I haven't done so much, so I felt, that pain, and it led to some form of depression, which, kind of translated into the film. That's why we had Drunken Dreams. The dreams, but obviously I wasn't drinking, but in the case of the old man in the film, he was actually drinking, so but eventually by inspiration, he was able to find his feet back, so that's basically the inspiration for Drunken Dreams. Yeah.
Okay, great, amazing. Yeah. So one of the things that struck me when I watched it was the dexterity, because I know that, stop motion animation is probably one of the more difficult forms of animation to put together.
Okay.
So, it must have taken a lot of painstaking work and dexterity to put this all together. So please tell us about the process.
Okay.
So you can educate or enlighten those who don't know, because it's also not one of the more popular forms of animation. So please just enlighten us about your process.
Okay.
Did you start by building the characters, and what did you make them with Word? Tell us about it.
Okay. Like I said earlier, I was 3D animator, and I did most of the animation myself, and so it's also pretty tedious. Stop motion, on the other hand, it has its difficulties, but the characters I could relate with, now obviously, first things first, here in Nigeria, we have power issues, so when you do 3D animation, you have to render for some time, and power can be an issue. Now stop motion, on the other hand, doesn't require that. For the characters, I've always liked toys. I've always been like, I have different kind of toys, dolls. Now I started getting some of these Barbie dolls and Action Man dolls, and then a bit of claymation as well. And when I was pregnant, that I was putting these things together, so when I had my children, I had more time on my hands, as they grew older, so I started working on animating them. Now, last year, I had a very short film on this festival, Power Up. It was just about 1 minute, but I used the Stickman mannequin, but in this particular situation, I used the dolls, so I have various mediums. So I'm on, like, sometimes when I'm going out, I see some people put out the toys that they want to sell, so I just look for something in that scale, that's 1/12, so once I pick up I could get ideas, and then from the toys, I could figure out, okay, this is what I could do with them. I have different short pieces, but this one, was a result of a personal thing. So for the process, I need to, the process obviously is, has to do with I use Dragon Frame as the software for taking the pictures one after the other. It's if you do animation, it's movement over time. Now, so I just move the characters bit by bit, and whatever action it is. Obviously, we have to storyboard the entire film. We have to storyboard so we know exactly what we're aiming for per time, and then you just animate each very short scene. One scene usually could go for a whole week, just one scene, so you walk into the night, make sure that where you're walking, you don't have lights, from the sun or anywhere else. It's just very dark, so that all the light you use is something that is controllable, and things don't move things, everything has to be in the same place, because once something comes out of place, you have to start all over again. Dragon Frame really helped out because you can see what the previous shot looks like, and then you just make slight movement over time and all that. So that's basically the process. Once you put all the pictures together, you take it into an editing software like Premiere, and then we did a bit of visual effects. We used Crazy Talk for some of the lip syncing, yeah. And really, that's how we ran, and put everything together. Yeah, and obviously we kind of hurried towards the end, so we left. There's some glitches there, but here and there. But then that was how the process went. Yeah. Okay. I'm answered.
Yeah. Okay. So
Alright.
roughly, what was the scale of each of the characters? Were they?
Okay, 1/12.
So that's
1/12. Yes.
So is that like 12 inches tall for each one?
Yes, they're about 12 inches tall. Yeah.
Okay, right. And they were made from plastic or wood?
Now, most of them were originally dolls. So
right.
They were dolls, yes. So what I did was I took heads from certain dolls, I joined bodies from another doll, and all that, put everything together. I used acrylic paints to paint the dolls, and I used a bit of hair, pieces of hair, for all sorts of things. It was just general artwork on the dolls, like that. And then that's how they came together. So originally, most of them were originally dolls. Some of them, a whole lot of work. Like after putting the acrylic on it, I had to use matte finish spray so that it looked camera friendly. Because once you paint the dolls, they kind of shine, and you don't want the characters to shine. You want them to be matted. Yes.
Okay. All right, great.
Yeah.
So I think one thing we could do now is open the floor to all the other artists and animators who might want to know something about anyone else's work. So you can ask questions.
All right.
Now.
Okay.
But Mr. Kaide, do you have a question? Or Stanley, do you have a question?
Well, I don't have a question. I just want to comment.
Say that again.
I said I just want to commend the filmmakers for all the work they've done. The guys who made 3 teaspoons of sugar, I think it's a very brave thing they did. If you wanted to make that kind of documentary, most times you rely on live action, but they've managed to use animation to make that piece, and I think it was very effective because a lot of people who wouldn't sit down to watch that same content if it was done with real human beings and with a camera would actually sit down to watch it as an animated piece. So I think it's a good direction to go for people who might want to make documented materials that are hard to digest. One thing about people who have medical conditions is that they don't like discussing it. They don't like being in a space where they are forced to face the realities that they have. Like people who have glaucoma, they don't like talking about glaucoma, they don't like any discussion about glaucoma. In fact, they would rather deny that they have it. And those who are religious would say, oh, I don't have it in Jesus' name. So, but I think the medium of animation makes it easier for you to communicate those very serious issues. I mean, my dad was diabetic. He eventually died around Christmas last year of complications from diabetics and all that. And he wasn't the easiest person to talk to about anything that had to do with diabetes. So I can imagine that you would need other forms of communication, other mediums of expression to be able to talk to someone like him and make him even see all the things you want him to see and know the information that is out there that you want him to know. So I think I just want to commend them for that. And Esther, in the entire Nigerian space, with people doing animation, 2D, 3D, I've also been animating since 1999 myself, but I've never dared to do stop motion. I just want to commend you for that. I can imagine how painstaking it is, because it's not just about one character moving effectively in the frame. From the foreground to the middle ground to the background, every character's movement has to be perfect. If not, you've messed up that whole show and you start all over again. So why don't I to the team behind it, two teaspoons of sugar. Welcome to the Total Title team. Total Title I'm excited for, because it's opening doors for communications and collaboration, which is what festivals are supposed to do. People hook up with people. I want to believe that at the Fanima next year, we'll find filmmakers who met each other this year and came together to do something nice. I'm online. Wait. Okay, so that's gonna be it, man. The kids just crashed the party.
I hope they watch Total Title.
Yeah, they are still watching it as we speak.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, for me, I think, it is pretty amazing. There were close to 1,000 entries this year, and you guys were some of the ones that were selected. It was a difficult choice because there was so much good work and so much interesting content out there. It's the largest the festival has received, and we believe that it will only keep getting better and better. We're so excited about African animation and the possibilities and the stories that we can tell the world. So well done to everyone who participated. I think now we've come to the end, and I'll just let the festival director, Mr. Muyiwa Kayode, say the last words.
Thank you, Brian. That was a good one. We appreciate and thank everybody that has been part of this festival. We appreciate and thank everybody that's worked very hard to put our first online festival together. I'm sure going forward, we are going to have a blend of the physical interaction and as well as the online festival. I'd like to also commend all the filmmakers. The entries are fantastic, and things can only get more exciting for African animation. And it's good to see you after such a long time, Artie. Yeah, so thank you very much, guys. We are going into the industry session now, and then we'll be back shortly to see more amazing entries in the second block. Thank you very much.